Hey there, my amazing English learners. Welcome back to American Lingo Academy. I'm Emily, and let me tell you, I am absolutely pumped to talk with you today about something that I know has been driving you crazy. We're gonna dive deep into how to understand fast English like a native speaker. And trust me, by the end of this episode, you're gonna have some game-changing strategies that'll make you feel like you've got superhuman hearing powers. So here's the thing that happened to me last week that made me realize we absolutely had to talk about this. I was at Starbucks, and there was an international student in front of me, and she was trying to order a drink. The barista was a super friendly guy, but he was talking at lightning speed. He goes, "Hey, what can I get started for you today? We've got our fall specials going on, and I'd totally recommend the pumpkin cream cold brew if you're into something refreshing. But if you want something warm, the apple crisp macchiato is absolutely incredible, and we can make it with oat milk if you're not into dairy." And I watched this poor girl's face just completely freeze. She understood maybe every third word, and you could see the panic setting in. She ended up just pointing at the menu and saying this one because she was so overwhelmed. And my heart just broke for her because I've been there, and I know you've been there too. That's exactly why we need to talk about this today. Fast English isn't just about speed. It's about rhythm, it's about patterns, and it's about understanding how native speakers actually communicate in the real world. And here's what nobody tells you: even native speakers sometimes struggle with fast talkers. But the difference is, we've developed these unconscious strategies over years and years of listening. Now, before we jump into the good stuff, I want you to know that everything I'm sharing today comes from over 7 years of teaching English, working with thousands of students just like you, and honestly, from my own experience learning other languages. Because yeah, I've been that confused person trying to understand rapid-fire Spanish in Mexico, and let me tell you, it's humbling. So let's start with the biggest myth that's probably holding you back right now. You think you need to understand every single word to get the meaning. Wrong. And I mean completely, totally wrong. Native speakers don't catch every word either, especially when someone's talking fast. We rely on something called contextual listening, and this is gonna be your secret weapon. Let me give you a perfect example. Last month, I was watching a movie with my friend Sarah, and there was this scene where a character was talking really fast about some complicated legal stuff. After the scene, Sarah turns to me and goes, "So basically, he's saying the guy's in big trouble, right?" And I was like, "Yeah, exactly." Neither of us caught all the legal jargon, but we got the gist, the main idea, the feeling of what was being said. This is how native speakers actually listen. We're not word hunting, we're meaning hunting. We're listening for the overall message, the emotion, and the key information. And you can learn to do this too. Here's your first major strategy. Start listening for what I call anchor words. These are the words that carry the most important information in a sentence. Usually, they're nouns, verbs, and descriptive words. The little words like the, and, to, for, they're helpful, but they're not carrying the main message. Let's practice this with a fast sentence. Imagine someone says, "I was thinking we could grab some lunch at that new Italian place downtown around 12:30 if you're not too busy with your project." Now, if you caught thinking, lunch, Italian place, downtown, 12:30, and busy, you've got the complete message even if you missed words like "we could," that new, around, and with your. This is exactly how your brain needs to start working. You're training yourself to be a detective, picking up clues rather than trying to transcribe every single word. The second game changer is understanding connected speech. This is where English gets really tricky because we don't talk like we write. We smush words together, we drop sounds, we blend everything into this flowing river of sound. And if you're listening for individual, separated words, you're gonna be lost. Let me show you what I mean. When I say, "What are you going to do?" it comes out sounding like "whatcha gonna do?" The T in what disappears, "are you" becomes cha, and "going to" becomes gonna. This isn't sloppy English, this is how English naturally flows when we speak at normal speed. Here's another one. "I should have told you" becomes "I should have told ya." "Did you eat?" becomes "did ya eat?" "Let me know" becomes "let me know." Once you start recognizing these patterns, fast English suddenly becomes way more predictable. The third thing you absolutely need to understand is sentence stress and rhythm. English has this beautiful rhythm, almost like music, and once you tune into it, you'll start predicting what's coming next. We stress the important words and kind of rush through the less important ones. Think about this sentence: I went to the store to buy some milk. The stressed words tell the story: went, store, buy milk. The unstressed words just connect everything together. When native speakers talk fast, they're basically keeping this same rhythm but speeding up the connecting parts. Now, here's where it gets really interesting. Different regions, different people, different situations all have their own rhythms. New Yorkers have this rapid-fire, high-energy rhythm. Southerners have more of a drawl, but they can still talk incredibly fast. Californians have their own laid-back but quick rhythm. Once you start noticing these patterns, you'll be able to adapt much faster. Let's talk about prediction skills. This is honestly one of the most underrated listening skills, and it's something native speakers do without even thinking about it. We're constantly predicting what's coming next based on context, based on common patterns, based on the situation we're in. For example, if someone starts a sentence with, "I was wondering if you could," you can pretty much predict they're about to ask you for something. If someone says, "the thing is," they're about to explain or justify something. If you hear, "to be honest with you," they're probably going to share an opinion or something they haven't said before. These prediction skills develop over time, but you can speed up the process by paying attention to these common phrases and patterns. Start a little notebook or a note on your phone where you collect these phrases. When you hear them, try to predict what type of information usually follows. Here's something that completely changed the game for one of my students, Maria. She started watching the same TV show multiple times. First time, she'd watch with subtitles and focus on understanding the plot. Second time, she'd watch without subtitles and try to catch the gist. Third time, she'd focus specifically on the fast-talking characters and try to pick out individual words and phrases. By the fourth or fifth time, something magical happened. She started anticipating what the characters were going to say before they said it. Her brain had learned the rhythm, the patterns, and the context clues. And then she took this skill and applied it to real conversations, and her listening comprehension absolutely skyrocketed. Now let's address the elephant in the room. What do you do when you're in a real conversation and someone's talking too fast? You've got options and they're all perfectly acceptable. First option, be honest. "Sorry, could you slow down a bit? I want to make sure I understand everything you're saying." Most people will be totally fine with this and will actually appreciate that you care about understanding them properly. Second option, use clarification phrases. So what you're saying is, "If I understand correctly, let me make sure I've got this right." These phrases buy you time and show that you're actively engaged in the conversation. Third option, focus on the key points and ask specific questions. "Okay, I got that you want to meet downtown, but what time did you say?" This shows you were listening, you caught the main idea, but you need clarification on the details. Here's what I want you to understand. Native speakers do all of these things too. We ask for clarification, we check our understanding, we admit when we missed something. It's not a language learner thing, it's a human communication thing. Let me tell you about another one of my students, Carlos. He was so worried about admitting he didn't understand fast speakers that he would just nod and smile, even when he was completely lost. This led to some pretty awkward situations, including showing up to what he thought was a casual lunch, but turned out to be a formal business meeting because he'd misunderstood the details. After that experience, Carlos learned to speak up when he needed clarification, and you know what happened? People started respecting him more, not less. They appreciated his honesty, and they started speaking a bit more clearly when talking with him. It was a win-win situation. Now, let's get practical with some training techniques you can start using today. First technique, shadow reading. Find audio content with transcripts, podcasts, audiobooks, news reports, whatever interests you. Listen to a section while reading along, then try to speak along with the audio. This trains your mouth and your ear to work together and helps you internalize the rhythm and flow of natural English. Second technique, graduated listening. Start with content that's slightly slower than normal speed, then gradually work your way up. YouTube is perfect for this because you can adjust the playback speed. Start at 0.75 speed, then move to normal speed, then challenge yourself with 1.25 speed. This progressively trains your ear to handle faster and faster input. Third technique, Active prediction practice. While watching shows or listening to podcasts, pause frequently and try to predict what's coming next. What do you think the speaker will say? What would be a logical response? What type of information typically follows the phrase you just heard? This builds your prediction muscles. Fourth technique, focus listening. Choose one specific aspect to focus on during each listening session. Maybe today you're focusing on catching all the prepositions. Tomorrow you're focusing on verb tenses. Next time you're focusing on emotional tone. This targeted approach helps you develop different aspects of your listening skills systematically. Here's a technique that sounds weird but absolutely works. Listen to content while doing something else. I know this goes against everything you've been taught about focused attention, but hear me out. When you're washing dishes, folding laundry, or going for a walk while listening to English, you're training your brain to process English more naturally and automatically. Native speakers don't sit in a quiet room with perfect concentration every time they listen to English. We're listening while driving, while cooking, while multitasking. Training your brain to handle English in these real-world conditions is incredibly valuable. Let's talk about different types of fast English you'll encounter, because they each require slightly different strategies. There's presentation-style fast English, where someone's giving a speech or presentation. This type usually has a clear structure and organization, so you can follow the logical flow even if you miss some details. Then there's conversational fast English, where people are chatting naturally. This tends to have more interruptions, more slang, more informal contractions. The key here is following the emotional tone and the back-and-forth rhythm of the conversation. There's excited fast English, where someone's really enthusiastic about something. The energy level is high, the pace is rapid, but usually the emotion carries a lot of the meaning. Even if you don't catch every word, you can feel what they're feeling. And then there's nervous or rushed fast English, where someone's trying to get through information quickly because they're pressed for time. This is probably the most challenging because the speaker isn't thinking about clarity, they're just trying to get the information out. For each type, you need slightly different strategies, but the core principles remain the same. Listen for meaning, not just words. Use context clues, focus on stressed syllables and key information. Here's something that might surprise you. Your listening skills are directly connected to your speaking skills. The more you understand the rhythm and flow of native speech, the more natural your own speaking becomes. And the more naturally you speak, the better your ear becomes for understanding others. It's this beautiful positive feedback loop. I had a student named Yuki who was incredibly frustrated with her listening skills. She could read English perfectly, her grammar was excellent, but she couldn't understand movies or casual conversations. We started working on her pronunciation and speaking rhythm, and within a few months, her listening comprehension improved dramatically. By learning to produce the sounds and rhythms of English, her brain became much better at recognizing them. This is why I always recommend that students work on speaking and listening together. Practice speaking with the same rhythm and stress patterns you hear in native speech. Record yourself and compare it to native speakers. This isn't about losing your accent, it's about understanding the music of the language. Let's address some common mistakes that might be sabotaging your progress. Mistake number 1, trying to translate everything in your head. When someone's speaking fast, there's no time for translation. You need to start thinking in English, understanding in English, and responding in English. I know this sounds impossible, but it's actually a skill you can develop through practice. Start with simple content that you can understand without translating, then gradually increase the complexity. Children's shows, basic news reports, simple podcasts, build your think in English muscles with content that's not overwhelming. Mistake number 2, getting stuck on unknown words. If you hear a word you don't know and you spend time trying to figure it out, you'll miss the next 10 words. Learn to let unknown words go and focus on the overall meaning. You can always look up new words later. Mistake number 3, expecting perfect understanding immediately. Even native speakers sometimes need to ask, "What did you say?" Or, "Could you repeat that?" Perfect understanding is not the goal, effective communication is the goal. Here's a mindset shift that changes everything. Stop seeing fast English as a problem to solve and start seeing it as a code to crack. When you approach it with curiosity instead of anxiety, Your brain is more open to picking up patterns and making connections. I remember when I was learning Spanish, I was so intimidated by fast Spanish speakers that I would literally tense up when I heard rapid Spanish. My whole body would go into stress mode, which made it even harder to understand. Once I started approaching it with a detective mindset, okay, what clues can I pick up? What's the main message here? Everything became so much easier. Now, let's talk about building your confidence, because confidence is huge when it comes to understanding fast English. The more confident you feel, the more relaxed your brain is, and the better you can process what you're hearing. Start with content where you know you'll be successful. If you love cooking, watch cooking shows. If you're into sports, listen to sports commentary. If you're interested in technology, find tech podcasts. When you're interested in the topic, you're automatically more motivated to understand, and you have background knowledge that helps fill in the gaps. Celebrate small victories. Did you understand the main point of a fast conversation even if you missed some details? That's a win. Did you catch a slang expression you'd never heard before? Victory. Did you follow a rapid-fire movie scene well enough to laugh at the jokes? Huge success. Keep a listening journal where you track your progress. Write down new expressions you learned, situations where you successfully understood fast speech, and moments when you felt confident asking for clarification. This helps you see your improvement over time and builds confidence for future challenges. Here's a technique I call comfortable confusion. Instead of panicking when you don't understand something, get comfortable with partial understanding. Know that it's okay to understand 70% of what someone says. Know that it's normal to miss some details. Know that communication is about connection, not perfection. Native speakers are comfortable with ambiguity all the time. We don't always catch every word our friends say, especially in noisy environments or when people are talking fast. But we stay engaged in the conversation, we ask questions when we need to, and we don't stress about missing minor details. Let me share one more student success story that really illustrates these principles. I had a student named Ahmed who was preparing for job interviews in English. He was terrified of the interview process because he was worried about understanding rapid questions or fast-talking interviewers. We practiced with mock interviews where I gradually increased my speaking speed. We worked on prediction skills by studying common interview questions and responses. We practiced clarification strategies that sounded professional and confident. And most importantly, we worked on his mindset, seeing the interview as a conversation, not a test. In his first real interview, the interviewer was indeed a fast talker. But instead of panicking, Ahmed used the strategies we'd practiced. He listened for key information. He asked one clarifying question that actually impressed the interviewer, and he stayed engaged throughout the conversation. He got the job, and later told me that understanding fast English was no longer this scary, impossible thing. It was just another communication skill he could continue developing. That's what I want for all of you. I want fast English to stop being this terrifying mystery and become an exciting challenge that you know you can handle. So let's wrap up with some action steps you can take starting today. First, choose one piece of English content that you find interesting but slightly challenging in terms of speed. Commit to listening to it multiple times this week using the techniques we discussed. Second, start paying attention to rhythm and stress patterns in everything you listen to. Even if you're watching something with subtitles, notice which words the speakers emphasize and how they group words together. Third, practice being comfortable with partial understanding. Set a goal of understanding the main idea rather than every single word. Give yourself permission to miss details while still staying engaged. Fourth, find opportunities to practice clarification strategies in low-pressure situations. Maybe with a friend who's also learning English, or in online conversation groups where everyone's supportive of the learning process. And finally, be patient with yourself. Understanding fast English is a skill that develops over time, just like playing a musical instrument or learning to drive. You're going to have good days and challenging days, and that's completely normal. Remember, every native English speaker was once a baby who didn't understand any English at all. We all learned by listening, by picking up patterns, by making mistakes, by asking for clarification, and by staying curious about the language. You're doing the exact same thing, you're just doing it more consciously and with better strategies. I want to leave you with this thought. Fast English isn't fast because native speakers are trying to exclude you or make things difficult. It's fast because that's the natural rhythm of the language when people are comfortable and engaged. When you can understand fast English, you're not just understanding words, you're connecting with the natural flow and energy of English communication. And that, my friends, is when English stops being a foreign language you're studying and becomes a language you're living in. That's when you stop being an English learner and start being an English user. And that transformation is absolutely within your reach. So here's what I want you to do right after this listening practice video ends. I want you to find one piece of fast English content, could be a YouTube video, could be a movie scene, could be a podcast episode, and I want you to listen to it with your new detective ears. Don't worry about understanding everything. Focus on the rhythm, listen for anchor words, use context clues, and see what meaning you can extract. Then I want you to come over to our American Lingo Academy community and share your experience. Tell us what you listened to, what strategies worked for you, what challenges you faced, and what victories you had. Because here's the thing, we're all in this together, and your success story might be exactly what another student needs to hear to keep pushing forward. If this episode helped you, please hit that like button, subscribe to our channel, and ring that notification bell so you never miss our latest tips and strategies. And if you know another English learner who's struggling with understanding fast English, share this episode with them. Sometimes the best gift you can give someone is the knowledge that they're not alone in their challenges and that there are real, practical solutions available. Until next time, keep listening, keep learning, and keep believing in your ability to master this beautiful, challenging, rewarding language we call English. You've got this, and I've got your back every step of the way. This is Emily from American Lingo Academy, signing off. See you in the next episode.